5 minutes past 8, you're still watching STARTIMES business. I'm Andrew Barija this morning, driving definitely your business with very interesting conversations that we anticipate that are going to be really transparent in all the way. Well, before we get into our business tips and quotes, don't forget the markets on the Zabo platform. Just 10 minutes left for them to be operational. Now, START92# is simply the USSD code for you there, which will avail you with a number of options. Here, you will be able to buy bonds and securities with just 15,000 you get in shillings. Yes, now the markets are going to be opening at 8:15. Like I said, just 10 minutes left, and they'll be closing at exactly 3:15 p.m. And this is running up to Friday. Apart from the weekends, these markets don't operate, and also the public holidays, these markets also don't operate. But remember, this week there is no public holiday, so we're driving it all the way full time up to Friday. And live, I believe by the time Friday reaches, well, it will be time to evaluate and see how far the value you've performed. Remember, you don't need a complicated phone. Whether you have a simple phone, a smartphone, a button phone, you are in position. The only aspect here is to START292#. START292#, and the rest will be made possible. Now, Zabo says, "My money, my future," and the Altics East Africa says, "Do something new for yourself." Well, as we're heading towards the last remember, we're heading towards the last half of the year, and I don't know what were your priorities when you're starting your business, when you're starting your year 2023. What were your priorities that you had set forward when it comes to effective business management as a person? But now the ultimate question is, in the first half, of course, which we just concluded, have you been able to see any? Well, I understand sometimes things are never easy, as we can anticipate, because the entire world, not only just in Uganda actually, but the entire global world is full of calamities when it comes to earnings of people. People are not really performing well. The economies are slumping down. People are losing confidence in government. So, I mean, it's not just in Uganda. It's all happening still all the way. But anyway, we're heading into our business tips and quotes. This is one of the ways that, you can get inspired as an entrepreneur. Probably you could pick something that can run you for the next half of the year, and I believe it will be applicable for you. Let's get into this real quick. Well, I was so very much interested. In the first tip that we observed in there, that was saying, don't waste your life trying to have results of somebody else. You're living somebody else's life, and this comes back to the whole concept of identity crisis. In terms of what we do, in terms of who we are. We are all unique. Each person is created unique. You have your personal identity. I remember somebody said that there are two most important days you have on earth. You mentioned something of the day you were born, but one of the most important days in your life, majority of the people say the day you're born and the day you die, which is okay at some point. There is something, but in the middle of that, yes, you died, but what was there to you, So there are three, I believe there are three important days in your life: the day you were born, secondly, the day you realize why you were born. I mean, your purpose on earth determines a lot. So you die, but having lived a purposeful life in that way. So, in other words, don't waste your time on earth living, trying to be someone else, because at the end of the day, you're losing out your purpose. And the reason that's why the world is having this whole identity crisis, we see chaos, calamities, it's quite simple. We lost purpose as humanity. Because when you lose purpose, you're so much driven by competition, greed, and anger. As a result, by all means, you're going to find yourself killing somebody else for money, for $1, for a shilling, for £1, and so many more. So, that tip is quite, to me, I feel like it's quite very dimensional. That focus, there is further where he said that focus on your intuitions, what you feel. Every person, whether you are what we call evil people in quotes, because there is no somebody evil. Actually, the only evil people we had where during the time, if you're Bible readers, you remember the time before the floods. That's the time where we had they call it the Diluvian period. Yes, the time before the floods, where we saw all these aspects of our civilizations, business concepts. We saw the aspects of religions coming in all the way, all from the so-called Nephilims that were used to be there. Anyway, that was a digression of knowledge just to drive the point where I want to take it. In that tip, he said that focus on your intuitions. So every person in your imaginations, you have this thing which you feel like defines you as a person, defines who you are as a person, and everybody has it. It is okay to have that. So the only challenge is that we run away from that feeling, from that intuition, because that intuition is trying to speak to you, trying to tell you that, hey, this is who you are. This is the kind of business that you can do. These are the kind of people you can relate with. When you follow that, I guarantee you're going to be yourself, and you're going to have purpose. You're going to have direction. You won't make a wrong business, honestly. Most of these entrepreneurs that we look up to, the billionaires, the Elon Musks, if you really take further to understand the other side of their life, there is that aspect they tell you, follow your intuition. Follow your intuition. That's what I'm trying to mean. Follow your intuition. Regardless of that, regardless of the business idea, put aside all these principles they're going to tell you. It is okay. I've seen people that do all business principles, but they are broke. The businesses are not working out. Why? Intuition. You didn't follow your heart, what you can really do. That's not your purpose. That's not what you created for. And before you know that, you're going to get frustrated. And once frustration comes your way, you're going to become a murderer. You're going to kill people because you want to cover up the lost years you've lost, investing into the wrong businesses. Yet this is something you would have sorted earlier if you thought right and you followed your intuitions. You would be quite, in a way, much better place. Well, that was our business tips and quotes for the day. I hope it's been beneficial for you as a viewer, as you're watching out there. Well, right about now, let's cross over and take a look at what's trending on the social media. Okay, now this is at Josh JJ says Ministry of Trade used 400 million to transport documents from Kampala to Entebbe. This cow entry. Interesting. That is at Josh JJ. Such an amazement there. And of course, this is at Mbaho Joshua. He says how Ministry of Trade transported documents from Kampala to Entebbe stores. Interesting. You can see a plane with some sort of escort jets there. Now, this is at Nowhere Richard, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Tourism, transporting documents from Kampala to Entebbe, hence costing them 400 million Ugandan shillings. And he puts a laughing emoji. And he's like, I have surrendered to you people. Now, this is at Suna King Gems. It says Uganda Airlines loading Ministry of Trade documents from farmers' house parking yard and to deliver them to Entebbe. Quite crazy here. crazy and funny at the same time. Okay. Now this is at Alan Bravdo. It says 400 million to transport documents from Kampala to Entebbe. By Ministry of Trade, I think I should try another country, Uganda, Ghana. In other words, meaning Uganda's, things are failed out. Things are failed out. That's what it's trying to mean. Now this is Kasesa's sweetheart. Says Uganda. So there is this minister who used 400 million on a facilitation, that is to transport documents from Kampala to Entebbe. Accountability is quite an issue here. Integrity in our business, in the different departments. So how are we going to really sort that out and see how we can overcome that? So somebody says it needs a passport as soon as possible. So the Ministry of Trade used 400 million to transport, that is documents from the farmer's house in Kampala to the stores in Entebbe. So if you ever get a chance to leave Uganda, do so and never come back, because this is hell. People are speaking out what they feel, speaking on what's on their heart and expressing different matters regarding that. Now, this is the Parliament Watch. Members of Parliament and Parliament Trade Committee also want the Ministry of Trade to explain how 400 million Ugandan shillings was spent on the transporting of files, that is from Kampala to Entebbe, during the rehabilitation process, that is at the farmer's house. Accountability, integrity, aspects that drive business. I remember there is a certain song that, running a country is like running a business. And there is this song of this person is trying to say, it's the beginning of the intro of the song. Actually, this was Jay-Z and said, this was gotten from Frank Lucas's sort of a quote where he said, there are two aspects that govern business, be it government or what. And the first thing he mentioned was integrity and trust. So if we lack those aspects, it's going to be hard to run this country like how we ought to run it. So we need to check ourselves. And of course, this is personal. I don't really try to relate it to, put all the blame on the ministry of that. But you see, it's a personal responsibility for every Ugandan, everywhere you are located, in whatever post you're doing. Integrity is key. It starts from there. It grows from there. It matures from there. Once you don't deal it from there, if you're still having this mindset of the corruption mindset, even at the smallest place you are, regardless, when you graduate, the corruption also graduates. The more position you promote, when you get a promotion to a bigger job, even the corruption is promoted. Why? You didn't deal with it. And it's coming up all in here. And this all comes back to the grooming and all so many aspects of life. So it's a personal responsibility to take account into to make sure that, we groom this thing at a very early stage. Well, it's 18 minutes past 8. You're still watching SmartMen's Business, your daily Kickstarter. I'm Andrew Barije. This morning, driving your business here. And now we are switching towards our business trend. And remember, it's the new financial year. It kickstarted off on Saturday, 1st July. And of course, that's where we see the budget actualizations, the plans which were made in there. How best are they going to be executed? Quite very important. And also, of course, remember when you're budgeting, you look at revenue, expenditure, and so many of that. But also when you talk about revenue, you need to have a plan on how you're going to collect that revenue. And the plan for Uganda's case this time around for this financial year was, of course, the taxes. And there is this aspect of widening the tax base, something which we actually witnessed, whereby the president actually went even further to put up, the digital tax propositions that were there. Companies like Facebook, TikTok, Twitter should be taxed for, operating in Uganda. And this is one of the ways to actually increase the tax base in that way. But anyway, the bigger question in here is that, can the people that all this is going to be imposed on be able to handle this? That's a very key question to really have in mind from that. Well, now our business trend this morning is going to be relying on the tax atmosphere amidst the new financial year. And we see that the tax burden will largely be felt by small and intermediate enterprises, well, according to the plans and priorities set. And coming down to see that tax evasion by reliable enterprises suffocates the budget implementation. The funny thing is that the people that are supposed to really contribute quite a huge sum when it comes to the taxation base to increase the government revenue, evade the taxes. They corrupt the tax officials. That's a whole issue. And the people that are down there that are trying to build a business in a struggling economy are the ones that are being piled up with these huge chunks of taxes. I love the discussion as you're going to hear. This is Honorable Hassan Chirumira, the Member of Parliament, Katikamu South. He mentioned something which I found so interesting, where he said that Uganda is a country that is that he's being influenced by a date-dominated budget. But at the same time, the country is promising people riches. I found that quite very interesting. I don't know whether fellow Ugandans out there, you've been really looking up to this. This aspect of promising the riches, but with a heavy date which is increasing every other day. How can those two reconcile? Yet the people that are supposed to actually, to be favored, that's the SMEs, are the ones that are facing the tax burdens, and the people that are supposed to contribute even the much more tax are evading the taxes. Well, where is that? Well, let's get into this discussion with Honorable Hassan Chirumira, MP Katikam South. Well, how he's observing really this tax atmosphere in this coming financial year.
Of course, the financial year started on the 1st of July, and that operationalizes our budget. But Uganda is the only country that sits on a debt-ridden budget and promises riches to our people. If you look at our budget, the biggest percentage is debt repayment. And we're borrowing more for the current financial year. Now, the implication of that is continuous suffering of our people. Pressure is going to be so much on the taxpayers, especially our small and medium enterprises. If you look at the nature of taxes the government is supposed to collect from them, it is appalling, and that cannot stimulate growth in their businesses. Of course, if you look at other parties that are supposed to pay taxes, they do not pay taxes. And now you cannot achieve the objectives of the country if the budget is not actualized. Now, the more pressure inflicted on the small businesses, it means they are going to transfer the pressure on the consumers in the form of increased prices. And that's where we have a problem as a country, that the budget we have will automatically cause increases in the prices because of the so many taxes that are going to be put on our people. And that's where we have a problem. We have the taxable base, the category that is supposed to pay taxes, and one of them is the business community, specifically the small and medium enterprises, because these big companies, some of them have tax holidays. They are living in a luxurious world where they don't pay taxes. So now, my biggest worry is that these small businesses that are still surviving and trying to stand from COVID-19 are supposed to pay a lot of taxes to make sure that the national budget stands. Now, the more taxes paid simply means increase in prices, because they cannot accept to make losses, but rather they will transfer the taxes in form of increased prices to the final consumers. And that's where we are going to have a problem. Cry and cry. Unfortunately, the economics of the world works like that. If we cannot focus on the production side of the economy and ensuring that people who pay taxes pay their taxes, then we have a problem. The URA has to go back to the drawing board and make sure that, like, for example, in the previous financial year, we lost 2.8 trillions in people who are supposed to pay taxes and they never paid taxes. 2.8 trillions. That is beyond the appropriation budget for agriculture, education, and even health. So URA has to make sure that people who pay taxes actually pay taxes. If we have continued tax avoidance, giving luxurious tax holidays to big business people and investors, then it means we cannot manage our budget because there's no revenue collection. Look at our tax to GDP ratio. Very appalling compared to other countries.
Well, that is a matter to do with the tax atmosphere amidst the new financial year, which kick-started off on 1st July. And of course, some of the key highlights from this discussion were into the aspect that the tax burden will largely be felt by the small and intermediary enterprises, and also getting to understand that the other challenge is that the potential players to pay the taxes are evading them, and that is also suffocating the budget. So you see that those that are incapable of paying the taxes are the ones that are going to have the burden, and those that can't, those that can are evading the taxes. So what is that? The budget is going to be suffocated in the long run. Well, it's 26 minutes past 8, and now come to the end of this particular session. And now, before we get into the break, don't forget the markets on the Zabo platform, which have already opened as I speak right now. *92# is simply the USSD code for you. It's still very early. You can, dial that code and you'll be available with options where you'll be able to buy bonds and securities for as little as 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Now, the markets opened at 8:15 and they're going to be running all the way to 3:15 p.m. And this is running up to Friday. It started yesterday. This week, there are no public holidays. Remember, the markets are inaccessible during public holidays and weekends. And this week, nothing. So we are driving it full time. That is up to Friday. So be a part of this and buy bond securities. You're a trader. This could be one of the ways you can actually get money to finance your business through bonds and securities. Now, Zabu says, my money, my future. And Old South Africa says, do something new. This is the year 2023. We got to do things differently and try out new things. Well, now let's get into the break. When I return, we shall be taking a look at what's happening on the business and entertainment, and also Joram Paulson could just join us. He has something for us when it comes to sports business. Good morning.